Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. We got a special one here today, man. There is so much that I have yet to learn, and I think we're going to learn some stuff today. This one's going to give you value. This one's going to give other people value, and this one matters. So please share this one. Today we have Steve Acerno with the ARC NCR on the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. What's your job title at the ARC?
Yeah, so I'm Director of Clinical Services at the ARC. So I oversee our foster care program, our family support services, and our clinical services.
Okay. And as we were talking before, the ARC's not necessarily known for a foster care type program. In general, what is the ARC? A lot of people have heard about it, but they don't know too much about it.
Yeah, so the ARC, we serve people over the arc of their lifetime. So from birth all the way through death, we serve individuals who have intellectual or developmental disabilities. And that also includes kids. And we have our foster care program. So it's really anyone in the community can reach out to us, whether it's a family struggling, trying to find services for their kids, or even for their adult children. We're able to help folks in the community who might be struggling with that.
Yeah, and certainly this is something that's pretty serious. And in fact, it was just on Fox 45 News this morning. I saw Mike Griffith on there talking about foster care. 3,500 to 4,000 roughly kids that are currently in the foster care system.
Right, and that number every day sort of moves a little bit.
Sure.
But those are 3,500 to 4,000 stories of some type of abuse or neglect. That's why kids come into foster care. It's one of really three reasons. One, it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, or neglect. And so those are 3,000, 4,000 stories of trauma. And so our program, we try to heal those kids from those traumas, and our foster parents play a really important part.
Yeah, absolutely. What actually prompted you to get into this type of work? I mean, was this something that you had experience with prior to, or?
You know, it's interesting. I went to graduate school for social work. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Yeah. Had an internship, though, at a group home where that group home served teenagers. And I really enjoyed that experience working with them one-on-one and beginning to understand what the struggle was for them, being removed from their families, and then having to live in a home with 5 or 6 other kids, having staff there 24/7. So that really intrigued me in getting into the work. And then after I graduated, my first job was in a group home here in Maryland.
Oh, wow. And
then from there, just sort of carried on from that point.
What does a group home environment look like? How many kids?
So
what their daily life looks like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that can vary a lot. There are some small group homes, maybe 4 or 5, 6 kids. There are some bigger group homes in the state where it can have 50 to 100 kids. And it's really like a campus type setting. But we know just from research and history that the group home setting is not ideal for kids. That's not a natural setting, right? So we want to try to get kids into home-like settings. If they can't be in their home of origin, their biological home, can we get them into a foster home where you really feel that nurturing, that love, that support from someone who really cares about you, and not, a staff rotation that would typically happen in a group home.
Yeah. Wow. And you were saying before, out of the 3,500 to 4,000, how many kids are currently placed in a foster type family situation?
Yeah, so it's about 850 that are placed in treatment foster homes across in
Maryland.
Yep,
yes, in all of Maryland.
And this is a problem nationwide. It's not just an issue in Maryland. There's a shortage of foster homes across the country. And so unfortunately, we're experiencing that as well in Maryland, and specifically here in Hartford and Cecil counties.
Yeah. Wow. So how does a stable family benefit? I mean, it almost seems like an obvious question, but how does a stable family, a family that's willing to step up to work with, or not work with, but care for a young individual, what kind of difference does that make in the kids' past or present, their situation?
Yeah, it's an important question because we know that every child who enters the foster care system has been through something traumatic.
Right.
Whatever the specific situation, we know they've experienced trauma. Mm-hmm. And so if they are able to be connected with a foster family who can provide that stability, who can show them what love is, who can be a good positive role model for them, that really helps counteract the effects of trauma. Mm-hmm. If they feel safe, both physically and emotionally in the foster home, then they can start the process of healing from that trauma. And that takes time. That's not like, a 1 or 2 day thing, but
right.
But over the course of months and even sometimes years, there can be a lot of healing that happens, and that really changes the direction of that child's life. Just
providing them some kind of hope that there's some kind of light there at the end of the proverbial tunnel, that exactly. Whatever struggle that they're going through, that there is hope that with a family's assistance, these kids can flourish into growing adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that all the time. We see kids who graduate from our program still keep in touch with us in some way, or more importantly, keep in touch with the foster families. Yeah. And they have their jobs, they are raising their families, they're living life as independent members of society, and so they've worked through that struggle. Right. And they've worked through that trauma. Sometimes it takes a while to do that. Sure. But we have a lot of situations where we see that success.
Is there just one story that just stands out, like, without of course using any names or anything like that, but one just story that really stands out that's really heartfelt? That I'm sure there's plenty, but
yeah, I mean there are. I mean, just this year we had one of our kids in our program be adopted by their foster family. Oh wow. This child was medically fragile. It was hard to find this child a placement to begin with, but then once we had
when you say medically fragile, is that like is that like a physical disability?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So and in those situations, they're pretty severe. For those kids, it's even harder to find a placement because not every family is equipped or able to provide 24/7 care for a child who's medically fragile. Yeah. But that was one of our success stories, was that child got adopted and it grew that foster family in size. Yeah. And now that child continues to be in a loving home and is overcoming or making very good progress in overcoming some of her disabilities.
That's amazing. I'm sure there's a ton of training or education that parents need to go through, especially when you're working with somebody that is medically fragile. Right. What kind of guidance does the ARC provide for families that are taking kids into their home?
Yeah, so even before a child would ever be placed in a foster family through our program, the families have to go through training. We call it pre-service training, but it's 25 hours of training before you're even approved as a foster parent. Okay. Once you're approved, then throughout the year, there's always in-service trainings. Again, that they have to have
required
trainings that they have to do, and it's not just sort of a checkbox like, okay, you just have to do it to get it over with. We try to really make it clinical training so that the foster families feel like they're developing skills, so that they can use those skills when they're caring for that child in their home, or for maybe a child that's going to be coming into their home.
Right. So it goes beyond 25 hours. Yeah. I mean it has to. Wow.
Yeah. We have formal trainings, but also a lot of our trainings are informal. It's conversations we have with foster parents trying to problem solve a specific situation. And so there's many conversations like that. Yeah. That we try to pinpoint what are the causes of behavior. So every behavior has meaning, and so sometimes it's difficult to find out what behavior, what is the meaning behind that.
Right,
behavior.
Why people act the way they act.
Yeah, both kids and adults.
And adults.
That's true for all of us.
True, absolutely.
And so we work closely with our foster families and the whole treatment team to try to figure that out so that we can best support the child.
Yeah. So certainly there's a hurdle that people need to get over themselves in order to get into the foster care, being a foster care family. What are some of the misconceptions that people have that if you could just clear up those misconceptions, a lot more people might, take on the opportunity?
Yeah, a lot of people feel like I couldn't be a foster parent because I would be too attached to the child. Or they feel like I wouldn't know what to do and I would be afraid that I would mess up. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say to anyone who has those concerns, and those concerns are 100% valid, but what I would say is that you're a part of a team. You don't have 100% responsibility.
It's not all on your shoulders.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. And it's okay to grow attached to the child. We actually ask the foster parents to do that.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because we're asking them to treat that child as if they were your own.
Yeah.
And so you would want to attach to
Right.
that child. And for most situations, when that attachment occurs, even if that child leaves the home, there's still contact. It's not like if that child graduated high school or they aged out of foster care, that foster parent would never talk with that child again. So we're really we're trying to build lifelong connections, not just during the time that child is in foster care. Right.
I mean, the ultimate goal is for the kid to be in for the long term versus hopping from one foster family to another.
Right. I mean, the ideal goal, the primary goal is always for that child to go back to their biological family.
Okay.
That's something we believe strongly on. Like
okay.
Those kids, as long as it's appropriate, that those kids should be back with their families.
Okay.
If that's not possible, then we do look to the foster parents as sort of a second option in terms of would they be able or willing to provide long-term care for that child. And every situation is different, so lots of factors that everyone has to take into account.
Yeah, certainly child safety is going to be paramount.
Right. Oh yeah. That's safety is always number one.
Right.
And that's typically safety is what brought that child into foster care, lack of safety. And so the Department of Social Services works with the family really intensively to try to address whatever safety issues there were.
Yeah.
And if that's successful, then we support that plan of that child going back home.
Yeah.
And our foster parents have a really good working relationship with a lot of our birth families because we know if birth families and foster families work together, that benefits the child.
Sure, 100%.
So we try to encourage that.
What instances could you say from the past where a kid would be taken away from their biological family, or not taken away, but placed into a foster family, but only to return to their biological family? What's an example or two of that? Would that be like incarceration?
It could be related to substance abuse of the parents. It could be related to neglect, and substance abuse and neglect are closely associated with each other in terms of parental struggles. If a parent is using substances, then sometimes they neglect just basic care of their child. It doesn't make them bad parents. It doesn't make them bad people. But it's then trying to give the biological parents the support they need.
Sure.
In order for them to get their child back in their care.
That makes sense. They go through recovery. They're able to recover successfully, and then naturally the child would be able to come back to their family.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the goal, ultimately.
It is. That's always the primary goal. Again, sometimes that doesn't happen, but we try really hard to make that happen, even if it takes a long time. So we have some kids who are in foster care for a couple of days, and then they go back home.
Oh.
We have some kids who are in foster care for years.
Yeah.
And then there's anywhere in between.
Sure.
So every situation is very unique in that you're dealing with lots of different variables.
Yeah, I could certainly see where there's just so much more preparation and education and support for families that are willing to take in a kid who has some kind of physical, mental disability. Is there a step, like, is there even more training when it comes to that to help support those kids that have those medical issues?
Yeah, so our foster families who are able to care for medically fragile kids, they get trained for that child.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they need it.
Yeah.
Whether it's nursing care or whatever it might be, there are specific training because it's really about the fit. It's not just, we have an available foster home, let's place whatever kid in that home. It has to make sense. And so we have to look at the strengths of the families, we have to look at the needs of the kids, and then we have to determine, is this a good fit?
Yeah.
For both the child and for the family. And sometimes it's not, and that's okay. But we do our best to try to make it happen.
Yeah. How long would you say that process is of from the time I raise my hand and say I want to be a foster parent till I'm actually helping a boy or girl, teenager, young kid, whatever? How long is that process usually?
Well, so the time frame to get approved as a foster parent can take up to 120 days from start to finish.
Okay.
Sometimes we can get it done before that, and we usually do.
Okay.
After that, then it's about making that right match.
Yeah.
So sometimes that match happens within weeks of being approved as a foster family. Sometimes it's a few months. Again, we don't want to rush it because if we rush it, then the chances are that match will fail.
Right.
And that just means another move for that child, which we know when kids move multiple times, it hurts them because it hurts their ability to attach to people in a positive way.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. Yeah, it's that fine balance of getting the people in to really help, but then not rushing it to a point where it's going to flop.
Yeah, and we get those questions. We get those questions like, okay, we're approved. It's been 2 weeks. Why haven't we had a placement? And that's a valid question.
Yeah.
But the answer is that we need to make sure that the match is right.
Yeah.
And that takes a little bit of time. And we on average, we get about 80 referrals a month for kids needing foster home placements.
80 referrals a month.
And that's across the state. So like in Hartford County alone, there's about 200 kids in foster care.
Okay.
But not all 200 live in Hartford County because there's not enough resources.
Oh, wow.
So they have to live out of county, and that can be anywhere. It can be Eastern Shore, it can be Western Maryland.
Within the state of Maryland, though?
Yeah, within the state. I mean, there are a small number of kids who have to go out of state because their needs are so great that there may not be programming in Maryland that can serve them.
Yeah.
But for most kids, we can find a placement for them, but it may not be in the county that they live in.
Yeah, sure.
And that's true.
And that takes them away from their kids, their friends in school, or that environment. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, if I said to you that, okay, after you're done work today, you're not allowed to go home, that I'm in charge of finding a place for you to live. I don't know where that's going to be yet. I don't have that answer, but I can go to your home, get a bag or one suitcase, and get some of your belongings, not all of them.
I can't imagine.
And we're gonna figure it out later today. The anxiety that would create for you,
the fear of the unknown,
right, and so if you put that fear in a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or even a 17-year-old, it's not unusual that kids will have negative behavior,
right?
But getting back to like every behavior has meaning, right? They're showing us that they're going through a lot because a lot is being thrown at them. So we try to, and that's part of, I think, some of the hesitation, especially for teenagers, right? For people like opening their homes and their hearts to teenagers, because teenagers get a bad rap sometimes.
Well, whether they're foster or in biological families.
Right, but if we look at the behavior, not as this kid's a bad kid or a good kid, looking at the behavior in terms of what has that child been through?
Yeah.
And how can we help that child, not just change behavior, but how can we get that child to thrive? And that's the challenge. But that's the lens in which we try to work through. Because if you just look at the behavior, it's hard because it could be a lot of negative behavior.
Sure. So certainly there is a larger number of kids that are not being placed in a foster family because of the sheer numbers that we shared so far. Where are those kids going?
Yeah, so The options are not great. So typically there would be group home options. There could be residential treatment centers, which are centers that are even more restrictive than group homes.
Okay.
Definitely a lot more restrictive than foster homes. And then also another possibility would be like a diagnostic center. So it would be if a child is having a lot of negative behaviors, some safety issues, diagnostic centers, a more secure program that can then help that child stabilize, and then in the hopes of them transition to a less restrictive environment.
Right. And we were talking before about that some kids are put up in hotels.
Yeah, I mean and those are the older kids, right? The teenagers who, for whatever reason, the state is having a hard time finding appropriate placement, and so then what do you do with a 16, 17, 18-year-old that you can't find somewhere for them to live? So, and that's the need of more foster families across the state. Is that population, the older kids, are in many ways the most vulnerable.
Right.
Because the little kids, people will step up for.
Sure.
But for the older kids, that some feel like, well, they're grown. They should be able to manage on them.
Yeah, you're 16, 17. You feel like I'm an adult.
Right.
I can take care of myself.
Which we know they can.
No, they can't.
Not fully.
I don't think the brain's not fully developed until they're like 25. So
right,
and
especially with kids who've been in the system, there's been a disruption in their development. And so a kid might be 17, 18 years old, but developmentally they may be 10 or 11. And so being able to support them through appropriate placement through a foster family who can support that teen through all those milestones, right? Getting a permit to drive, getting their driver's license, going to college, all those really important things, going to prom, those normal teenage milestones is important for kids, regardless if they're in foster care or not.
Yeah. And so they age out of foster care programs at the age of 18?
It's actually 21.
21.
So
okay, good.
When someone turns 18, they can sign themselves out if they want to, but they can stay up until age 21.
And 21. So are there any kind of transition programs within those later years that are helping kids transition to becoming an adult? And especially if they don't have a family that's going to support them, and maybe they're not, some might not even be willing to take on the support at that point, but what happens when they age out and there's nobody there to help them, or is there something?
Yeah, so there's two sort of possibilities. There are some independent living programs in the state in which if kids are at that age of 17, 18, 19 years old, they can get into some of these independent living programs that really focus in on building those independent living skills.
Yeah.
They have an apartment, but they're also responsible for managing their money and paying rent and all these things. But the other part too is that they can do that sort of thing in a foster home.
Yeah.
Where they have, again, they keep that connection with their foster families, and those foster parents really teach them.
Continue on.
They teach them how do you balance a checkbook or to use a checkbook.
What's that?
Right?
Look, in real estate, I'm working with first-time home buyers that don't know how to write a check.
Right. And so a lot of it is like, well, do you use Venmo? Or can you access? Do you know how to mobile deposit a check?
Right.
That you might get.
Sure.
Or what do you do with the paycheck when you get it?
Yeah.
Right? Do you have a savings account? So those basic skills. So important for those teenagers to learn. And
absolutely.
It's much easier for them to learn it in a home setting.
Yeah.
Where, again, you get the support of a loving caregiver, but you also learn those skills at the same time.
Yeah. What, if you had to guess, or maybe you know the statistic, what percentage of kids that they get to 21 and then they're out on their own become homeless?
I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's too high.
Yeah.
Right? Because if a kid in foster care ages out, then that means there was a group of people that it was their job to support that child.
Yeah.
Right. And so if that child ages out with no connection to someone who's not getting paid for them,
right,
to be involved in their life, that's a disservice to that child.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do for the kids who are aging out of our program is making sure that they have at least one or two connections, positive adults in their lives,
right,
that are not getting paid to be in their life, that then can be that person that they call if there's an emergency, or if they need advice, or if they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for Thanksgiving,
sure,
or Christmas, right? Making sure that they have a connection to people outside of the system.
Yeah, people want to get involved, but maybe they can't be a foster parent, for whatever reason. Right. How can our community get involved with the ARC and helping these kids?
Yeah, so we are always open to volunteers in our organization, and you can go on the website and put in your information to volunteer or call us. There's many ways, through donations, through volunteering your time to support a kid who is in the foster care program as a mentor, possibly. We always have opportunities to help create opportunity for our kids. And so if there are people in the community, you're like, you know what, I have a special skill in this area, or I really want to teach kids how to manage money, for example, we're always looking for opportunities like that.
Do you guys do a lot of fundraisers throughout the year?
Well, we have a annual gala. That's our biggest fundraiser.
Okay.
That members from the community can attend, and they really learn about the whole organization at the ARC, not just our foster care program.
Right.
And there's always opportunities to come. We have a Sprout Festival that really highlights the great work that's happening within the ARC. So yeah, lots of different opportunities throughout the year.
Yeah. If people want to connect, where can they? What website can they go to? Are you guys big on social media?
Yep, we're on all the socials.
Okay, good.
Our website is arcncr.org.
Okay.
And on there, they can learn about the foster care program. They can learn about all the different programming for adults and for kids that we have, and they can also donate there. They can put their information into volunteer.
Yeah.
And if they want to become a foster parent, they can they can submit their just basic information that way, and we have a bunch of videos that they can watch on there, really hearing from the kids themselves about what it means for them to be in the foster care system. And then we also have some from the foster parents who talk about their experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Could you imagine if this podcast went out and we got a few families to actually jump up and be foster parents?
Yes.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Please let me know.
If
you go to become a foster parent, tag us or tell them that you saw it on the podcast. That would be pretty darn cool.
Yes.
That would be pretty darn cool. When I was younger, in my early 20s, I worked at an at-risk youth center in Bel Air. And there was this one kid that I kind of took under my wings. He wasn't in the foster care program, but as many kids had, tough family situations. We stayed connected throughout the years. I used to be a teacher. Now he's a teacher. And furthermore, he was able somehow to get on Jeopardy! Teacher Tournament of Champions.
Oh, wow.
And when Alex Trebek, God be with him, when Alex Trebek asked the panel, who's a teacher that made the biggest difference in your life? Yeah. He dropped my name on national television. Wow. And I think we were watching Jeopardy! I didn't even know he was going to be on. And when I heard my name, I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, and that's really what it's about. It's about connection.
Absolutely.
And so whether a child is in a foster home for a day or a year or 5 years, the primary purpose is building that connection. And that's a great example. Your example is amazing. But that can be an example for anyone who might be listening to this, thinking about, I don't know if I can do it or not, thinking about that opportunity for connection.
Absolutely.
And what difference that can make in a kid's life.
There's always a fear of doing something different or new that you just don't know about, right. but you have to ultimately make a jump and give it a shot, and what you usually realize is it's not as bad as you thought it was going to be. It was actually pretty awesome, you know.
And these days it's tough to find the hope, right? And tough to find the joy. But if you think about, 20, 30, 40 years from now, looking back on your life and figuring or trying to reflect on that and saying, did I make a difference in some way in someone's life?
Yeah.
Being a foster parent is just one way to do that.
Yes.
But it's a great way.
It's a great way.
Because you can see that effect every day when you're caring for that child. So just one thing to think about is, if people are trying to, have that internal dialogue as far as should I do this or not?
I mean, we are only on this earth for a very brief moment of time. What kind of legacy do you want to live? And the relationships and the connections that we make with other people live long beyond our life here on earth. So it's like, get involved.
Right.
So, man, this is awesome. Steve, thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you.
Please follow the ARC on at their website and on their social media platforms. You can follow us too at the Markland Advantage on Facebook, Instagram, at TMA on TikTok. Do you guys do TikTok?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
but we might. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. That would definitely connect with the younger generation. Yeah. So, but yes, thank you. And if you feel that somebody that could be a great fit for the ARC, please forward this to them and help this great organization out. So
thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, live your life to the fullest, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you, man. Yeah. Did you like this episode of the TMA Connection? Well, you might want to check this one out right here. Go ahead, click it.